Newly elected Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene announces articles of impeachment against the President Joe Biden. They come just one day after his inauguration. Greene's office says the reasons for the impeachment concern Biden's allegedly shady deals in Ukraine and allowing his son to siphon off cash from Russia and China. Greene's office released the statement just a day after Biden was sworn in as the 46th U.S. president. The move comes less than a month into the Georgia Republican Congresswoman's first term. Greene claimed in the statement that President Biden will do anything to excuse his son's corrupt actions and line his family's pockets with foreign cash. She also mentioned a tape showing Biden admitting to a quid pro quo deal with the Ukrainian government. Lawyer Butch Bowers is named as lead attorney in former President Trump's Senate impeachment trial. The Senate alleges Trump incited insurrection. Bowers is a graduate of Tulane University's law school and owns Bowers Law Office. According to his website, he represented former Republican governors in North and South Carolina and served in the Justice Department under President George W. Bush. In 2012, Bowers represented then-Governor Nikki Haley over allegations that she engaged in illegal lobbying. Haley was cleared of wrongdoing. The House voted on January 13th to impeach Trump for a second time during his tenure. Lawmakers blame him for the January 6th breach of the U.S. Capitol. This despite Trump urging his supporters to act peacefully ahead of the protests and condemning the violence multiple times following the incident. 2 days after leaving the White House, former President Trump can now rest up in Florida. But what are his plans for the future? One of his top advisors revealed some potential plans.
Top Trump advisor Jason Miller tells Just the News that former President Trump has a number of goals in the next couple of years. One of his major goals is to win back the Senate and the House for Republicans in the 2022 midterm elections. This is to stop what he calls, quote, the Democratic craziness. The Democratic Party currently holds a majority in both the House and the Senate. Miller also reveals Trump plans to be the nation's leader on voter integrity. He expects Trump to work closely with state legislatures to ensure election integrity. Miller adds that Trump will start after undergoing a transition period first. But because Democrats are in control of both Congress and the White House, Miller does not believe Washington will address the issue of election integrity. Although Trump has not said whether he will run for president again in 2024, he told his supporters before leaving office on Wednesday that, quote, we will be back in some form. He also said in his farewell video on Tuesday that, quote, the movement we started is only just beginning. On the same day, Miller tweeted a picture of the White House with the caption that says, until 2025.
Reversing Trump's immigration policy appears to be a top priority for President Biden. Immigration reform was among a slew of executive orders Biden signed just hours after taking the oath of office. NTD's Melina Wisecup has more on the details that were released about a new immigration bill aiming to fast-track a path to citizenship.
Among President Biden's executive orders targeting immigration reform is the decision to stop construction on the southern border wall.
Reportedly, the Trump administration extended these contracts through 2022, so for at least another year. It's not clear how much the contractors have already committed in terms of buying materials and so on. So the government could be on the hook for a lot of money potentially if these contracts are broken.
Another executive order she says hasn't gotten much attention, suspending deportation for the next 100 days. Still another of Biden's executive orders aims to strengthen the DACA policy. Vaughn called it a merely symbolic move to show his stance on immigration. That's because it didn't change the current DACA policy.
A president cannot create protections for this group of people that are permanent. In other words, people with DACA cannot get green cards or permanent legal status on a path to citizenship unless Congress passes a bill to authorize that.
And that explains why New Jersey Senator Robert Menendez is set to introduce a bill to restore an Obama program to let children apply for asylum in the United States. It would allow young immigrants known as Dreamers to get green cards immediately and be eligible for citizenship within 3 years. Other illegal immigrants living in the state since January 1st would get green cards in 5 years and be eligible for citizenship within 8.
It also would eliminate the waiting list and allow everyone who has currently applied for a green card to enter immediately. Years ago, Congress enacted a waiting list so that we could regulate the level of immigration and keep it at about, well, now it's at about 1 million people a year and has been for quite some time. This would allow potentially as many as 6 million people to come as new immigrants within a very short time, as quickly as the government could get them processed.
The bill would need 60 votes in the Senate to pass. Vaughn says it's important to have immigration regulation. That's because a huge influx of immigration all at once would cause a budget strain on state and local governments. From their current studies, they found that 2/3 of all legal immigrants are using some form of welfare program. With these questions on the table, she says she doesn't think the new bill will be signed into law. Some Republican lawmakers have already spoken out against it, calling it a poor choice of priorities. Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Top Republican lawmakers are calling on the Biden administration to take forceful measures against the Chinese regime. It's in response to retaliatory sanctions Beijing placed on U.S. officials.
Republican lawmakers are calling on the new administration to respond to Beijing's latest sanctions. The ongoing chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Jim Risch, took to Twitter. He wrote, "By sanctioning 28 outgoing national security officials, the CCP is already testing the Biden administration's resolve to continue a tougher, competitive approach towards China." The leading Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Michael McCaul, on Twitter called the sanctions a brazen and baseless attempt to silence and intimidate officials that hold the CCP accountable for genocide and its takeover of Hong Kong. Beijing placed sanctions on former Trump administration officials within minutes of former Vice President Joe Biden being sworn in as president. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson accused the U.S. officials of carrying out a series of crazy moves that undermined China's interests. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is included in the sanctions. Among other former members of the Trump administration now sanctioned are Trade Advisor Peter Navarro, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, Health Secretary Alex Azar, and Deputy National Security Advisor Matthew Pottinger. So far, the spokesperson for Biden's National Security Council, Emily Horn, has said the sanctions are unproductive and cynical.
Hi, we're happy to announce that you can also catch us on cable TV now. Millions of households already choose us as one of their trusted news sources, and you can too. You can watch us in Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, and many other cities as well. And if your system doesn't carry NTD yet, you can just give them a quick call and request NTD on your cable provider. Thank you for watching. See you next time.